Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian own, not to control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault, episode 577. Moving along. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. Definitely excited to do this episode. This is Sunday Trustee Training. You're listening to Trust Christian own, not to control everything. Definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in live once again and in the replay. Can't say that enough. We have so many people that have listened throughout the years. We continuously get consultations where people have said, I've listened to you for 2 years and they finally reached out. Or they listened for years and they finally have reached out. Or a year. So we're excited and we're really appreciative, really thankful that people have listened for years and are moving in the right direction with trusteeship. We have multiple families that are even more than one generation. So we definitely want to talk about this workshop that we have coming up, the Asset Protection Estate Planning Workshop. And definitely excited to do this particular event. It's actually being sponsored by Abundant Returns Tax Service. Larissa Humphreys is the founder of the company. Um, Definitely thankful to be able to do this workshop. We definitely have already filled the room to a degree. As you can see on the screen, we have 13 tickets left, and so it's actually just growing every single day. We're sending out invoices, so once those things are completed, we'll just close it off. Today's episode today, though, is going to go over kind of the things that we go over in trusteeship, and as well what we will be going over in depth as the training for those families and individuals. So definitely look forward to anybody that wants to come to the workshop. Definitely want to be in trusteeship. Definitely want to get the association, and that's the purpose of this particular episode today, is to really go over the language of trust and to just go ahead and get rid of the myths. To just go ahead and have a candid, open conversation with the public, with people, families. Oh, I'm acting in a private capacity. Well, we're going to talk about that today. So definitely appreciate everybody once again. And we're just going to hop straight into it. So, a lot of the times, ladies and gentlemen, people talk about this language of trust. They come on the line. This is actually one of the biggest identifiers that we could tell whether people are public or private, because like the mentors trained us, you make two first impressions: trust, Christian, and vault. You better way you look, and the second thing is the way you speak. So today we're going to focus on that second element of what the mentors trained us in trustee training from our mentors, which is how you speak. Do you know the language of trust? Are you able to communicate with senior trustees? Are you going to get outed because, or are you going to be exposed because you don't speak the language? A lot of people come into the environment and they say, oh, well, I need to learn the language. So the first thing people can do is they can grab a Black's Law Dictionary. It is like having a Bible on your bookshelf. People have Bibles on their bookshelf, they have holy books on their bookshelf. Ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to have a conversation and say, oh, well, uh, do I have to read a book? Well, a lot of the sophisticated information is in a book. So when we talk about trusteeship, does it have to come from a book? Ladies and gentlemen, it's either going to come from a family or it's come from a book. So when we talk about it today, we're talking about the Black's Law Dictionary, which is a legal dictionary, which is the language of business. For all the ones that say they're in business, a lot of people say they're in business. We know you're a spiritual being. You read the Bible. We also know that if you're going to be in business, it's imperative to learn the business language, the actual business language, not the public school language, not the public school where they just tell you a word and the word doesn't mean the same in business and it doesn't mean the same in law. And law and business are the same things, ladies and gentlemen. Law and business deal with written words, which are contracts. So since we can establish that these written words, the language of contracts, okay, where are we gonna find the the defining measure, the meaning of these words, and that comes from the Black's Law Dictionary. A lot of people reach out, they don't have one, so they end up getting one. Um, and that's just because they haven't been given that education on the actual language or the words. And so one of the first educations that trustees really get is just learning how to change their language, learning the words, learning to be able to communicate with banks properly, learning how to communicate with other trustees properly. Well, it's not an easy road when someone doesn't know the language. When someone doesn't know the language, it's not an easy road because they're going to get stifled with terms that they're not used to. And if they don't have the confidence to stop someone in the middle of their speaking and say, hey, what does that mean? Or I'm not clear about what you said. What did you just say there? Those are things that you can easily identify. Once again, what are they talking about? How can we move on along in the conversation if we don't know what someone's talking about? So the first thing is that the actual words, the dictionary. Once you grab the dictionary, you can read through. You say, "Oh, trust Christian vote. Where do I start in the dictionary?" You can start in the dictionary with the words that are associated with trust. People say, "Oh, I want to be in trust," but they don't know the various types of trust. They come on the line, they don't know. So we're talking about identifying these things before you get into training, and as well once you get into training, identifying the words that are in contract, that are everyday words? Have you changed your mindset or upgraded the mindset or improved the mindset to business terms, which are legal terms? Remember, they have a legal name, they have a business name, then there's legal terms, there's a legal law. And so we're not here to debate whether the law is fraudulent, de facto, or anything of that nature. What we're saying is the current rules to the game are just the measure, the framework that we will be working from. And so, how can we operate best if we don't know the language of business, ladies and gentlemen? We have to know the language of business. The language of business, the language of trust is the Black's Law Dictionary, one, and various other dictionaries. Some people say, oh, what about the Bouvier's Christian, Trust Christian Involved? What else? Barron's Financial Dictionary. Barron's, these are financial terms, ladies and gentlemen. They have actually a Barron's magazine that people can subscribe to. If you have young children, people say, "Oh, I got children, I want them to learn finance." Well, Barron's magazine would be a great magazine to get them involved in. No plug, no sponsorship at the same time, and that not even just promotion. It's more of a consideration. Where do you get your financial information? Where do you get your financial terms? Those terms are traditionally and profusely in the public with uh, through those magazines, through the Barron's Financial magazine. We were actually sitting around someone recently, a lawman. She's actually a woman, and she shared with us. We're just gonna confirm it again, which is called the Blue Book, and this is a book that people use. Yeah, it's called the Blue Book, a uniform system of citation and style guide that prescribes the most widely used citation system in the United States. So, once again, this is the value of sitting around lawyers. When trustees they come on the line, they say, "Oh, Trust Christian Vote, do I need a lawyer? How do I find a lawyer? Where am I gonna get a lawyer from?" And all this other stuff. Where am I gonna find a lawyer? Why do I need a lawyer? How do I find a lawyer that can handle competency for trusteeship, Trust Christian Vote? Where do I go to find a competent lawyer? Or why do I even need to have a lawyer around? Well, once again, they are very competent in public matters. And so we're not saying that they're not competent in private matters. What we are saying is they are competent traditionally in public matters. So, once again, even the Blue Book, we know we just dropped a gem and a jewel because most people don't talk about it. You hear everybody on the internet, the gurus, the goofballs. Oh man, get yourself a Black's Law Dictionary and get the oldest one. We don't even share with people to go get the first one. It's not even in circulation. You're gonna spend $500+ to get an old dictionary. Unless you're collecting it, there is a happy medium, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. There's levels of, we don't want too many antiquated definitions, but we also do want, and we also don't want definitions just purely missing in the newer versions. So we do want some level of modern answers, newer terms, and then as well we do want what do we call it? We want some older terms, knowing that we actually are going to get the full definition. And so once again, even the blue book right here. Oh man, trust Christian Vault. No one ever told me about that. I never heard about it. Once again, this comes from talking to law people, lawmen. Come and talk to lawyer. Oh, trust Christian Vault. Why do I got to talk to a lawyer? This is the reason why you talk to a lawyer. This is why you have these conversations. You bounce your ideas off them. The blue book, a uniform system of citation. We sat in front of a trustee the other day. You go into the legal library, the law library. They usually will have the books inside of the law library, so there you don't have to buy them. You can get them for free at the law library. May not be able to rent it out, but you can at least get the book. This is the language of business. It's too easy to have a what, level one education. Oh man, I know all I know. Well, do you know everything? No. Then you actually, are you aware that there are things that you don't know? Yes, they're in the dictionaries we're talking about. There's a language. Once again, people talk about Donald Trump. We're not bringing his name up for promotion. We're talking about what we've heard, what we've seen him out of his own mouth say. He studies the tax code. So why is it that entrepreneurs don't study the tax code? It's too easy not to study the tax code as an entrepreneur. Why? Because it's too easy not to. They're already making money. I jumped out the gate. I started selling product and services over the internet or whatever they're doing. So what's the purpose of reading the tax code for their businesses? When some of the best entrepreneurs say, look, I actually read the tax code to find out how I can grow my business faster and where the credits are. We get people come on the line for Trustee Training all the time. Oh man, Trust Christian Vote, I'm trying to use the credit. But did you read the code? Do you know where the credits are going? Are they going to a person, you, or are they going to a business? Because if we can read these things from a business perspective, it's all there. It's waiting for us. It's definitely all there. And so, whether it's the blue book, we actually got another gem for you. Just want to confirm it. Oh man, y'all don't even want to know. It's just so funny today. Just sharing gems and jewels with you all. So once again, you get into the law game. You get into the trustee training game, and you you want to make sure your family is good. You want to make sure that you're competent, and you get into it, and next thing you know, it's just a different world. It's a different language. And that language, once again, comes from the words. So we got the Black's Law Dictionary, we got a Bouvier's Dictionary, we got a Barron's Dictionary. As you can see, these are three books right now that business people are to have on their shelves traditionally, and they do. The most successful have a Black's Law, they have a Barron's, they may have a Bouvier's, they may have a blue book. Blue book's usually for legal lawmen close to the heart. And then you got the red book, a manual on legal style. So we got a few different color books here, ladies and gentlemen. And the next one is the red book. It's the red book, semicolon, or colon actually, a manual on legal style. And this book's by Brian Garner, Bryangarner, Brian Garner. A great a lot of trustees come to us. Oh, I'm trying to draft my documents. I'm trying to draft this and draft that and do this legal thing and everything else on their own, which is excellent. Actually, as trustees, it is important for us to, know how to correspond with people properly, and that correspondence is going to come from knowing how to legal style, which is called business style. We can replace legal style with business style. It's knowing how to properly correspond business wise with everybody, not with one, with everybody. The court, the businesses, the public. The red book, A Manual on Legal Style by Brian Gardner, is excellent resource. And so we know at the vault that we put out that kind of content, that we make it a point to share with you all the language of trust. Definitely appreciate everybody to hit the like and the subscribe button. Definitely know we got the workshop coming up, the asset protection estate planning workshop coming up on the 24th of August. Abundant returns tax service. So a lot of trustees walk into it. They say, "Oh, I don't know the language of trust." Well, do you know the language of taxes? So we could do an episode about that, and we could do a language of taxes, a language of taxes for a trust. And so, once again, we definitely appreciate the resource that we have, Larissa making herself available. Um, and so, we want to talk about a little bit more in depth what is the language of trust outside of the dictionaries. Um, you know, how do we continuously develop the language of trust? We develop the language of trust not just through dictionaries, also through publications, magazines. Are you reading publications that relate to family estate, trusteeship? Those are the things that we would share with individuals and families that give someone the opportunity to grow. So the first thing we cover, we're just making sure we got our information here. So bam, language of trust. How do you get the language of trust? We're gonna give you three examples of how you can pick it up the fastest. People talk about the learning curve. Oh, I got a learning curve. Trust Christian in the vault. I gotta. When am I? First of all, here we go. It's called case reading. You build your knowledge. You build your language. You build your confidence. You build your competence through reading cases. We can go back. We actually provide actual verbal commentary for cases that are very much top five. If you want to get those top five cases and reviews, feel free to reach out. They're in Trustee Training. We actually have had lawmen do commentary on each one of those cases. So very, very thankful that we do have those top 5 to 10 cases. And then we also have true legal law bar examined. Some people say, oh, do you need to have a bar exam? All right, even if you have the JD, you're competent. So we're aware that if you're saying, "Oh, I don't have the JD, I don't have this. How do I decipher them?" There are many people that go to law school that don't practice. So once again, you can find individuals that have access to these cases, and you can actually go over the case with them and review the case with them. So the first thing, the language of trust, the fastest way to pick it up, the fastest way to actually get it into your vernacular is to actually read the cases, get an understanding, read over the words you're not aware of. Second thing, doing the minutes. This is one of the most challenging things we think for trustees, unfortunately, is to do a minute. But the reason why is because they don't feel confident in their legal style. They don't feel confident in their legal language. They don't feel confident in the language of trust. So the way that we build that language competency is by doing minutes on a regular basis. This is why we share with trustees to be consistent and have a weekly meeting, because when you first enter into the sector, it's challenging to be competent if you're not consistent. And the way that you gain that competency is by just being consistent with doing the repetitious activities of stating words like resolution, it's resolved, stating various different types of terms, knowing that you're doing a minute, knowing that a meeting is a minute, and things of that nature. Once again, knowing how to style those actual minutes that comes from having those dictionaries, having those examples. And even in trustee training, we provide trustees with templates through various different resources that we've compiled, because there is no one way to do it, but we also know that it's good to give people options. They can look through it. It's sort of like nowadays when people are doing these templated, like visual art projects. It's one of those things like that where there is no one example, there is no one way, but having multiple uh, possibilities gives trustees what they really want. If trustees are operating in abundance and a wealth mentality, then that means that we have a lot of options. That means we have a lot of options. Once again, so we're going to continue moving on this path. Doing the minutes was a big one. And the last one that we thought of for this episode, which was association. How did you learn the language of trust if you're not associating with people that are speaking the language of trust? This is the reality, ladies and gentlemen. Are you speaking the language of trust? The language of trust comes from association. Getting around people like Larissa, getting around people like a Tiffany at the workshop that understand their industry, that are actually willing to educate you and work with you, and not just sell you a product or service. A lot of people want to get the what is that, the golden ticket to wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, wealth is a process. Paychecks are instant gratification. Wealth is a process. It's a period of time to build wealth. It's not a 2 week paycheck mentality, ladies and gentlemen. The language of trust is pay off, not paycheck. There's a difference. There's a payoff that is generational wealth, that is passing along something to your children in the proper position and not looking like you didn't have the education. We don't need to ask you, do you have a trust? We don't need to ask you, do you have the information? A lot of people can say they have a trust. A lot of people can say they have the information. The difference is the actions, association, the minutes, and actually reading cases that are going to determine the outcomes. See, people get in trusteeship and they say, how do I learn it? How do I learn it? Association, reading books, which is the cases, actually, not reading books, reading cases. That's the way it's done. We're doing the minutes, being accountable to the minutes. We appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. I always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, to replay. Okay, we don't go on vacations anymore. We go on business trips. It's always been that, ladies and gentlemen. It's a business trip. Can we find a business intent for this reason for going here? Everything turns into a family estate, business, expense. But there's a difference between people thinking about their first name and a language of trust, which is thinking about your last name, thinking forward, thinking for your family, thinking for the team, putting the family estate before yourself. Those are the things that people are asking for, and so much more. We appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you, everybody, for hitting the like and the subscribe button. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Trustee Training, we got an asset protection and estate planning workshop coming up on August 24th. Right now, we're down to 13. Definitely going to continuously take that number down. You guys will see us post that, edit, make these changes. Tickets are going, so we definitely appreciate everybody that is already booked their ticket, and then everybody else that plans on being there. Just know that the seats are limited, and so those tickets are going to go fast. We have families that are traveling internationally, actually, as well. So we look forward to seeing everybody in the room. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com, and as well, you all can see on the screen how to actually get to the workshop. Any questions you have, just feel free to reach out. Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy. Thanks for hitting the like and the subscribe.